Hello, world and universe. Welcome to the Trevor Donald Experience. Manifest your truth. And if you're new to the channel, please hit that like and subscribe button. And for all my continued followers, I want to say thank you. This is an opinion-based video channel where I talk about some of the trials and tribulations that take place throughout our cities, our states, our country, and sometimes around the world. And in particularly, sometimes I will talk about stories straight out of Chicago and St. Louis, two of the places that are closest to my heart. And this one's right outside of Chicago in Rockford, Illinois. It happened a few days ago. 4 people were killed, including a 15-year-old girl who died saving her sister after an Illinois man went on a series of stabbings and attacks on Wednesday in and near the city of Rockford, Illinois, officials said. 7 other people were injured in what the mayor called a random and senseless act of violence. Police took the suspect, Christian Soto, 22, into custody on charges of murder, attempted murder, and home invasion. The attacks occurred at multiple scenes in Rockford and an area of Winnebago County shortly after 1 p.m., authorities said. Words can't even express my thoughts right now, Rockford Police Chief Carla Red told reporters. She said the suspect committed heinous crimes. Winnebago County State's Attorney Jay Hanley said Soto allegedly admitted to the attacks and said he had taken marijuana he believed was laced with an unknown narcotic before the rampage. The suspect and at least one of the victims were friends. The violence unfolded Wednesday afternoon when Rockford police received a call about a person being run over by a vehicle and possibly stabbed outside of a home, Hanley said at a Thursday news conference. Officials located the bodies of a man and woman identified as Jacob Schumpbach, 23, and Ramona Schumpbach, 63. Both appeared to have been stabbed, Hanley said. Witnesses said they saw Jacob Schumpbach being chased across the street by Soto, according to Hanley. The witness said they saw Soto with an unknown, possibly black object that he was hitting or stabbing Jacob with as he was lying on the ground. Soto then got into a vehicle and allegedly proceeded to run over Jacob at the end of the driveway, Hanley added. Jacob Schumpbach was able to get up and run back inside the home. Soto allegedly followed and was observed by witnesses exiting a short time later. Witnesses told police that Soto got into his vehicle and fled the scene. During an interview following his arrest, Soto allegedly told police that he was friends with the 23-year-old and went to the house to smoke some bud. Soto said he believes the drugs provided to him by Jacob were laced with an unknown narcotic. Soto said he became paranoid after the drug usage. He said he retrieved a knife from the kitchen at Jacob's house and proceeded to stab Jacob and Ramona to death, Hanley told reporters. Then a mail carrier died while doing his job. Soto allegedly told police he left the home in his vehicle and recalled taking out the mailman next, according to Hanley, who identified the victim as Jay Larson. Larson was stabbed multiple times in the front yard of a home and died from his injuries at the hospital. Ruth Mendoza, the inspector in charge of the U.S. Postal Inspection Service in Chicago, said Larson died while doing his job. Jay was doing what he loved, serving his community, she said at the news conference, delivering mail to customers that he has served for over 25 years. Hanley said a witness saw Soto battering Larson and stabbing him numerous times with a knife Soto retrieved from his vehicle. The witness who called 911 said Soto then got into his pickup truck, ran over Larson, and then fled on foot. Soto allegedly told police that he had recognized the mailman and admitted to stabbing him. No officers As officers responded to the scenes, a 911 call came in about a man armed with a katana-style knife attacking people at another home. 3 people at the residence were injured and treated at the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. Hanley said they all have been released. Then he went where girls were watching a movie when chaos erupted. At a separate location, 3 girls were attacked with a softball bat, according to Hanley. One of the girls, 15-year-old Jenna Newcomb, died. One of the injured girls told authorities that she was at a friend's house watching movies in the basement bedroom when Soto allegedly entered the home through an unlocked rear door. Hanley says Soto grabbed a softball bat from the kitchen, went into the basement, cursed at the girls, and asked where the gun was. The girls ran to the corner of the bedroom. He started swinging the bat, striking all of the female victims, Hanley said, getting emotional. One of the juvenile girls was on the floor and curled up in a fetal position, he said. Another girl was struck a few times and collapsed. Soto eventually fled that home. Jenna's mom wants the community to know that Jenna died saving her sister and friend and protecting them from further harm. Rockford Mayor Tom McNamara said at a news conference. Then the attacks continued in Winnebago County. Soto is also accused of breaking into a woman's home in Winnebago County and attacking her with a knife. Hanley said the woman ran to the front yard of a nearby home where a man driving past stopped and intervened. As Soto began attacking the man, police arrived and took Soto into custody. About time, Sheriff Gary Kuriana said earlier that the woman was stabbed in the hands and face and was intubated at the hospital. The man who intervened to help had stab wounds, but he's fine and is being evaluated. OSF St. Anthony Medical Center, a hospital in Rockford that received 4 patients on Wednesday, said Thursday that it still had 3 patients, 2 of whom are in fair condition and 1 in critical condition. The suspect appeared in court Thursday afternoon and was denied pretrial release until his next hearing. He faces up to 60 years in prison on each count of first-degree murder and attempted first-degree murder, and up to 30 years in prison for each count of home invasion. His lawyers asked to delay the next hearing until April 2nd to speak with Soto and his family. A woman who identified herself as the suspect's mother said Thursday she was in shock. He's a loving person and has never hurt anybody before, the woman said, who did not provide her name, said in a phone call. We don't know what happened. He's not an aggressive person. This is all shocking to us. We never felt threatened by him. Suspect didn't appear at recent sentencing hearing. Court records show that the suspect had several traffic violations, including an incident in January in which he was accused of speeding. Soto pleaded guilty and was scheduled to appear for a sentencing hearing on March 19th, but didn't show up. The sentencing hearing had been rescheduled for May, records show. In a separate traffic incident in 2022, he was sentenced to 6 months of supervision after he was charged with driving with an expired registration and failure to yield to the right of way. He was also charged with damage of property in September 2022. Say lawmakers are shaken by this violence. McNamara and other officials said their thoughts were with the victims and their families. The mayor said he was just totally shaken by this act of violence and the impact that it's having on multiple family lives. My prayers are with them as they are just beginning to deal with what will really be difficult days and weeks ahead. Emotional support and counseling services were made available at Flynn Middle School on Thursday, according to the city. Those services will continue on Friday. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker said he is monitoring the situation and offered any support needed to the Rockford mayor. Federal law enforcement Federal law enforcement officials are assisting in the investigation, police said. In a statement, President Joe Biden on Thursday said he and the First Lady were horrified to learn of the brutal attack carried out in Rockford. He added that this tragic event is a reminder that we must continue to ensure that our police and first responders have the support they need to do their jobs and keep us safe. Rockford is a city around 150,000 people located 60 miles northwest of Chicago. This just happened a couple days ago. Man, I talk about the 7 pillars or 8 pillars that are tearing down the moral and ethical fabric of our society, and mental health issues is right at the top. The opioid crisis, homelessness, inept inner city public schools, fatherless homes, gun violence, the shoplifting and looting, these liberal cashless and bail reform laws and systems that are in place where people can get out of jail under their own recognizance for minor crimes. And then how do you define what's major versus minor? The state of Illinois enacted what's called the Safety Act, where here again, an individual can get arrested for a minor crime, go to jail, and then get out the same day under their own recognizance and are expected to show up to court 30 days later. And if somebody has a criminal mentality and a criminal history, do you think they're going to be honest enough and give you their word that they're going to show up back to the court 30 days later to see if they're going to be sentenced, put on probation, or sent to jail or prison? It's going to be a high no show, no call at these court appearances. And this resonates throughout all of the state of Illinois, especially in Chicago, where you could commit minor crimes, shoplifting, looting, I guess simple assaults. I don't know what's the difference between major and minor. And the criminals know that they are not going to be held accountable for their negative actions and helping to destroy our cities and our communities. We have to change these libertarian laws. We went from being too restrictive and trying to lock everybody up to now our public safety, our police force doesn't want to lock anybody up. I'm not in favor of defunding the police. I think we need a strong police force, and we need the right police officers. But in this tragic situation, evidently this young man, we're seeing this young man had several issues going on, and I'm not just sure that what he smoked is what caused him to go on this particular rampage. And we're seeing a large number, especially if you follow my commentary in my videos. This Christian Soto was 22 years old. The age of these individuals that are committing these heinous crimes is getting younger and younger and younger. You're not seeing 50 and 60-year-old people committing these crimes. There is a heavy level of aptitude of anger, hatefulness, hopelessness, helplessness in our young people today. We're going to lose an entire generation of folks. I've been going live on my TikTok channel under Don Cross 665, where I've been talking about this. I did one yesterday. We're going to lose an entire generation of folks between mental illness, the opioid crisis, gun violence, death and destruction. And there was a time many years ago, didn't seem like it was that far ago, where young people were building their future from high school to go to college, to military, trade school, get a job, and to do something positive. But we have this huge debauchery of ill-willed determination to be hateful, destructive, and And our young people, there's such a fine line between life and death that those lines are beginning to get blurred. And the inhumanity that our young people and many people today are exuding to others is just unheard of, is unhurled, and is happening each and every day. Um, it is sad. There was another case that I did a video several months ago um, in Illinois near Chicago, where a guy in his 20s, he killed like 9 people and then took off to Houston and ended up getting killed by the police. There is so much chaos and disruption that's going on outside in our communities, in our cities, but people are failing to realize that it's all starting. There's a lot of chaos and disruption going on inside these homes. There's too many fatherless homes, uncleless, grandfatherless, big brotherless homes. These kids are raising themselves and not learning to be mannerable. Yes, sir, no, ma'am, Mr., Mrs. Uh, we are having a purging in our society and an underbelly and a whispering of civil unrest that is taking place each and every day. There was an old controversy years ago that people had a conspiracy that the government was building all of these prisons to incarcerate everybody. Well, at this particular point, so many people are committing crimes. I don't know if we got enough prisons and cells to put all these people. This is every single day. You had 8 kids shot at a SEPTA bus stop in Philadelphia a month ago. Uh, the crimes are just going through the roof, and public safety also is one of my pillars. Mental illness, opioid crisis, homelessness, public safety, gun violence, trafficking. I mean, there's about 13 things that you can mention that are at the precipice of pushing that button to destroy our health and welfare of our United States citizenry. And this is very, very disturbing. And we have a plethora of young people that are angry, mad, confused, are not living for a future, are not planning anything in a positive way. They're living for today. And anybody that gets in their way, they are willing to commit extreme harm. And this is very unfortunate. The planning stages of doing something and trying to live to be 50, 60, 70, 80 years old into retirement is not part of the vocabulary or vernacular for many of our young people. This kid was 22 years old and went on this heinous stabbing spree with young females. I mean, you talk about heartless, hopeless, and no consideration for humankind is just unbelievable. But this is going on all the time. And Chicago, that area, has had multiple scenarios. You had a scenario up in the south suburbs. I did a video on where an Arab man, Middle Eastern guy, had killed his wife, his twin daughters, and another person in the house. So all of this disruption and chaos that's inside these homes is spilling out into our communities. These kids that are angry at home, not being raised right, is spilling out into our schools, making it difficult for our teachers and administrators. It's spilling out into our communities, making it tough for our police officers, our public safety, for people like you and me that want to leave our home, go to work, go to the store, and get back safely, where things could take place in the parking lot. You can get robbed, carjackings. There is way too much craziness that is going on in our communities today that we need to get a handle on. And our administration needs to pay close attention to this. Our government is so worried about what's going on outside the country with these different wars. This migrant issue is a heavy strain on our system and our social services. in Chicago, New York, our borders, and that I think sometimes we're forgetting the pain and suffering that our people that have been living here are going through. And as many young people, we're going to lose an entire generation of young folks due to this self-hatred, this hopelessness and helplessness. And we need to change that narrative immediately. We are going to lose an entire generation of folks through prison and the graveyard. This guy needs to be off the street. He needs all the mental help that he can get. These victims and their families are going PTSD after this trauma is going. This is a life-changing scenario for the perpetrator and the victims. He's going to spend the rest of his life in prison, and these victims are going to have to deal with this nightmare the rest of their lives. It's sad. Tell me what you think. This is the Trevor Donald Experience. Manifest your truth in a positive, righteous, and God-fearing way.